there something as being too big?
I don't think so.
And is it a bad thing or a good thing?
It's immoral. It's neither good nor bad. Okay, if you're providing a service, if you're providing value for the people you serve, for me, I still believe it's good. Even if you're a monopoly, as long as you do not get to that stage by standing in the way of others competing with you, then it's okay. If you're a monopoly by having a superior product, I think it's okay. But it becomes a bit hard to make that case when you find that it becomes. Let me give an example. Remember when we were working on Pigeon and we were trying to put posters? If you're trying to do poster for your own delivery thing, it was like, hey, you can't even tell people around this neighborhood that you're doing this.
Yeah.
But when someone from Safaricom comes, they're like, hey, just go on, go tell them about the internet and all that. So there's a bit of leverage or that you get the bigger you grow. But if you're not standing in the way, I don't think, in my opinion and mind. And at the same time, and maybe this also relates back to why we see a lot of the big tech getting, the antitrust and all that.
It's actually really big right now.
Yeah, every company will have its time in the sun. Eventually, new players can come up, even in an area where there is stiff competition. And yet some will find a way to become either dominant or a very huge player. I remember we were talking about Notion just a few minutes ago, and we usually talk about ClickUp.
Yeah.
You have companies getting into an area that is already saturated by products that deal in productivity. And yet, because of their own unique branding or the way they do the distribution and all, they're able to become a big force. So someone might be able, of course, it doesn't apply to every single area, but you might look at these big companies and say, they're very much entrenched, but you'll be surprised a new player can come up and just steal so much market share from them.
What do you think? Do you think that this company can be too big?
Well, for the most part, I actually agree with Evans, but I think it's almost like I'd probably maybe add on to my question that I find that there's rarely one company that's too big, but like few companies that are very too big, that are very big, like an oligopoly of some sort. Like, for instance, when you think big tech, there's like Google, there's Microsoft, there's never just Google. You get? If there was just Google, I'm sure somebody would have done something about maybe slapping an antitrust on them like really early on. But there's always Google and Microsoft and so and so and so and so. Now, maybe this will tie into what the Starlink situation.
Which is what we want to get to next.
Yeah. But in certain markets, I feel like it's almost, you need to look at things with a very skeptical eye when there's just one big company. It's just human nature. There's always something under the hood where there's a reason why there's no number 2 or number 3 that is very big and is competing effectively. Because you see, when you're the biggest fishes in the pond, it's so natural for the biggest fishes to start competing over the resources to feed on. Like, it's just the same way. Like, if there's a really big company here, they will eventually begin to have verticals that overlap and will compete in all the same things. And that's why all big tech businesses are all competing on cloud. They're all competing on, yes, there's one person doing search, but all of them want to have like a piece of the cake. Like, they don't want to have any overdependence on any fellow big fish in the pond. And so, like, I think I'll let you introduce the Starlink situation because
it's very much tied into the big players, actually, because very recently, according to a newsletter for Tech Safari, a leaked letter showed Safaricom asking Kenya's tech regulator to block satellite internet providers from entering the market unless they partner with local companies. In this context, we're talking about Starlink that has been taking Kenya by storm, at least for the past month or so. What stands out more about this letter is the timing. Just a day before Starlink rolled out the rental option for Kenyans to get their kits for $15 a month instead of $350 to buy. That was the time when this letter was given, trying to get tech regulators to think about new providers coming to the market unless they partner with local companies. And because these prices move, satellite internet users in Kenya jumped tenfold to 4,808 this year. And this was prior to now. We've not even counted. This was an article from about 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago. So we've not even counted the surge, because on TikTok, we're seeing videos of people packaging Starlinks to get their talk. It's the talk of the town. And I think what's interesting is the big player being Safaricom feeling a bit, would you say, threatened, or saying that, hey, this guy can just come into this market and say what needs to be done. We need to have a say in what's going on. What do you guys think about this?
Maybe we should empathize with the biggest company in Kenya.
Actually,
absolutely. And how much profits they're about to lose. But really, I think it's just the nature of business. Once you become entrenched and you have a lot of foothold in the market, you are unable to innovate, or maybe you're not just able to innovate at the level of your competitor.
Maybe what we can say is, what would be the difference, or why would people want to move to Starlink in the first place than they would for maybe Safaricom, for example?
One would be a superior product, if people truly perceive that this is a superior product. Secondly, now this is me talking into the pros of Starlink. The mobility, or some places are hard to access. I have to move into a building that is fiber enabled for me to start using Safaricom. Whereas, with Starlink, I just need to go
get the device,
and
you're good,
and I'm good, and it will work anywhere I go. So I can go to the office, I can use it anywhere. So it's really a perception of this is a better product, and I think that's what people are being drawn to. As well, people also drawn to say things that are new and shiny, and that's not a bad thing. It also helps us to challenge and to test out things.
Push them to innovate. In fact, like I've had one of the worst months in ISP internet provision, and I wouldn't be more excited to get Starlink, by the way. In fact, I would even encourage guys, buy more Starlink.
We've been having, we are having the finance bill strikes. Internet is not working. We have, my internet has been on and off for quite a bit the past couple of months, and always someone has to come and check if everything is working.
I think we need to call a spade what a spade is. When a company says, when a player in the market goes to a government and says we need to have more regulation on something, we need to know and identify that for what it is. It's called crony capitalism. That's gatekeeping. That's blocking entrance into the market.
Yes.
In fact, I would even go ahead and say I wish more people. I really pray that Starlink finds a way to even lower the unit cost of getting a kit, and more people are able to afford it, and more people get to buy this, because you can't block people's choice, because people vote with their money. You can't block people's choice on what they want to spend on. You have the mandate to provide. You have the mandate to provide a service. You have the mandate to provide a unique service offering that's fitting a certain need. If somebody else comes and does it better than you, I mean, that is literally what a free market is all about. That is exactly what it is. You're outcompeted, you adjust, there are companies that they've found their way. When you look at the history of companies like Sony, Nintendo, like these guys were doing VCRs to the point where they're doing PlayStation 5s. They've innovated over the years. They've found a way. Samsung was it even an electronic store? I think it was like a general store or something. How do these companies, how are they able to
refrain from using Samsung?
Samsung. But the funny thing about Samsung.
But allow me to flip this question as well. When it comes to, because we've just come from talking about monopoly and companies being too big, could you look at it from the point of view that, Safaricom is the biggest player in Kenya, but compared to the might that is Starlink, or let me say like Elon and his investments, he's able to deploy far much more capital into his business. So could you make a case against more monopolistic powers coming from the side of Starlink, where they're able to subsidize their cost to be far much lower than that of their competitor in a bid to gain market share? And that's one of the main reasons, one of the main things that are usually evidenced when people are claiming that a company is using its monopoly power to, for example, in the case of, I don't know if it's the likes of Rockefeller, where okay, theirs will be different. He'd buy competing companies and close them down. But you have cases where a company can set up shop next to a company they want to buy and just lower their price for the sole purpose of
Destroying.
yeah. So couldn't you also make that same case where we have an external company, American company, coming with I'm guessing a much bigger wallet and being able to subsidize their own costs so that they're much lower than that of their competitors?
But you see, the problem about that position, I think, in my view, is that the burden of you proving the intent is on you claiming. Like when you claim that, this business has come to set up shop, lower the prices to kill this business, you need to be able to prove that, hey, like you can actually see they've deployed this X number of capital. You can actually see they're solving exactly the same problem as we are. Starlink is coming with a very different proposition. In fact, the upload speed is beans. Like it's so slow.
That's the
their ping speed is
got.
like, I mean, you would still be buffering in like mid calls. In fact, if you're in just the normal consumption tier. And I'm sure there's a plethora of like YouTube reviews of guys who are showing like the daily experience using Starlink. I think what they position, what I'm super pro when it comes to Starlink is just the fact that they've given us variety.
An option.
Now, let me tell you, come to a country like ours, you will need to understand the state at which just the ISP space was.
Yeah.
So the ISP space in this country, for instance, it took Safaricom that had like a really big moat in transactions. They have the biggest bank that's not a bank called M-Pesa. Deploying all that profit, right, into building networks for fiber connectivity. Essentially actually genuinely providing the best service in this country compared to its in comparison to its competitors. So what do the competitors do? They lower their pricing on like you get like X number of internet speed for this X number of, like the only way they could do is outcompete them on price. And so all the other competitors
back to
like
the whole story again.
Yeah, just all the other competitors like to Safaricom actually either priced lower, have better product offerings as it were, but you'll even find that not all of them provide the same like quality when it comes to support, when it comes to customer service.
I actually agree with you because it's the same case. It's the same case of saying Safaricom can't complain that a bigger company is coming to steal their market share
While
when they use their size
might
to steal market share from all
steal,
the other players.
to deploy more capital, to build better networks, to build bigger reach, to have like A plus like customer. They literally just leverage the economies of scale to get into the ISP business and dominate. So somebody else comes and they're not even, the worst part is it is an innovation in and of itself. They did not need to build any. It's like insisting that we need to still use punch cards when a graphical interface is here now and you can actually type into it. Like it is the law of business.
And I wonder, they say that they need to work with local suppliers. What do they mean?
Yeah, that's what actually was going to be my next question.
Well,
if you were to Safaricom aside, if that would be like, okay, the monopolization, etc., like how would you assume or foresee a partnership with Starlink and local companies to essentially have this successful? Because like you said, they also have their negatives, maybe in terms of upload speed is what I've also seen as the biggest negative review, the loading. But is there a way that they can, their collaboration, whether it's Zuku, I don't know if Zuku is still alive, or like what would collaboration look like in this context?
Actually,
because maybe it wouldn't be good for that kind of partnership for us to also benefit as an economy.
Actually, don't know to be honest, the long and short answer to that is something that I'm not. I can't see it in my head.
You can't see
Same.
it.
I can't see it in my head.
And again, we are looking at it from the point of view of, why were they asking for that? It's not because they want to offer better service, but because they're being threatened as the dominant player.
Yeah.
So if
And
Starlink doesn't need them
that
to sell their products, why should they be compelled to nonetheless work with them?
And sorry, but just do you think that them trying to push for that will be successful? Like it will have an impact? Like almost like what challenges do you think Starlink might get now as they penetrate this market? Now that the big players are alert.
I won't ignore the might that Safaricom has in terms of political will and political muscle, basically. Because Starlink has actually faced a lot of opposition by governments in other countries, and for I don't want to say obvious reasons, but some would argue really obvious reasons. And if Safaricom has the political muscle to lobby against that in that extent, I think they could maybe even make headway. And I actually think Starlink is big enough to not care about Kenya as a market and move on to
another
economies
market.
And it's almost like for them it's a calculus of maybe they're not early adopters, we'll keep deploying this, we'll keep on with our mission until
our country is small.
And I mean Starlink was even an afterthought.
So you're saying we should buy it early?
Yeah, in fact
we should buy it right
I'm
now.
saying we should.
I'm saying now is the time to buy Starlink.
Red Bull,
Before things go
Buy
crazy.
Yeah. Buy it for the curiosity of it.
And you know what? You might resell it. Just buy. If you have the extra cash.
When the government blocks your internet, you'll be glad you go to the satellite direct.
If they're not regulated. Can you actually build a business around setting up like LANs, like small networks? You buy a Starlink kit. I mean, you're getting around 222 MBs down, right? You can deploy that to households in a neighborhood, each of them paying a small cut of the subscription.
That's what people in apartments should.
Yeah, maybe there's a case to be made on making feeder businesses.
Collaboration is not with the companies; it's with the consumers.
Yeah,
let's have the offices.
It's like, you guys can't afford. Okay,
yeah,
let me go on. But anyway,
Dominic has mentioned something quite important, that it's not just about the economical incentive, but access to internet really is access to information.
Yeah.
Information that people want to control.
Other side.
Yeah.
So you might easily see the case that Safaricom makes going through. Think about if it was allegedly said that the government said that our internet should be shut down, and now telling people who are not beholden to you
to shut down the internet.
You could tell Starlink Kenya to do it, but then Starlink, the HQ...
You can't do it. Oh, guys.
Ooh.
So it poses more than just an economic angle. It's also a political
we should call this
discussion.
The skeptic radar.
This one we are following up. We'll follow up a couple of months and see how it
progresses.
Starlink
to be honest, I think to a huge extent, you're kind of right on the money on there.
Take care of yourself. You might be too close to the real situation on the ground. But very interesting. You guys can let us know. I mean, we were not able to unpack ourselves what collaboration might look like with local organizations. But maybe if you have some ideas, you can let us know in the comments.